Charles Darwin, the man standing between the war of religion and science. In the mid-19th century, when questions about the origin and development of life were still topics that no one dared to doubt, a British scientist shocked the world with his bold theories. That man was Charles Darwin, a researcher with unique and sharp perspectives, who pioneered the unraveling of nature's millions of years-long journey. Not through advanced technology or modern laboratories, Darwin laid the foundation for his monumental scientific works through long expeditions, meticulous observations, and ceaseless questions about the world around him. However, Darwin's success did not stem from luck or innate talent. It was the result of a combination of relentless effort and unwavering determination in the face of continuous controversies that erupted when his theory of evolution was widely published. These theories not only transformed the field of science, but also challenged the perspectives of the era, ushering in a new age in how humanity viewed its place in nature. Charles Darwin was not just a scientist. He was a symbol of the spirit of exploration and courage, daring to change the way humans perceive the world over thousands of years. Let us explore the life of the eminent scientist Charles Darwin and the monumental legacy he left for posterity, a legacy that changed the course of human history. About childhood, the humble beginnings of a great mind. Charles Darwin was born on February 12, 1809, in Shrewsbury, England. He was born into an intellectual family with progressive ideas. His father, Robert Darwin, was a doctor and a wealthy financier, while his mother, Susanna, was the daughter of a renowned ceramic artist. As a young child, Darwin showed no signs that he would one day become a figure of immense influence. On the contrary, when he attended Shrewsbury boarding school at the age of 8, he was often seen as a playful boy, more interested in collecting rocks and specimens of plants and animals than focusing on his studies. In fact, Darwin was frequently criticized by the headmaster for his habit of skipping classes to conduct chemistry experiments. As he entered his teenage years, Darwin's father grew concerned that his son would become a disgrace to the family if he continued his aimless ways. As a result, he decided to send Darwin to study medicine. Despite the strong support of his family, Darwin felt that he was not suited to become a doctor. He detested his coursework and was haunted by the gruesome hours of surgery. In Charles Darwin's time, anesthesia had not yet been invented, and surgeries were often performed on fully conscious patients enduring excruciating pain. And so, once again, Darwin abandoned his studies, spending much of his time on hobbies such as horseback riding and shooting. After only 2 years of studying medicine, he decided to drop out. When his father learned of this, he was furious. However, he later decided to send Darwin to Christ's College, Cambridge, to train to become a clergyman. Surprisingly, the environment at Cambridge turned out to be the perfect launchpad for Darwin's development. There, he had the opportunity to meet many open-minded and sincere priests and botanists. Under the dedicated guidance of Professor John Stevens Henslow, Darwin found a profound inspiration for learning. He spent much of his time reading literature and actively honing the skills necessary to become a naturalist. About the journey that changed his life. In 1831, through a recommendation from Professor Henslow, Darwin was invited to join a scientific expedition aboard the HMS Beagle at the age of 22. The journey was initially planned to last 2 years, but ended up spanning 5. This is considered the most significant turning point in Darwin's career. The voyage of the HMS Beagle took Charles Darwin to many different regions. From England, the ship crossed the Atlantic Ocean, docking at the shores of Brazil. The journey then continued southward, heading toward the Pacific Ocean, and onward to New Zealand, Australia, and South Africa. Throughout the voyage, Darwin made numerous observations and notes on the diversity of plant and animal species. One of the most notable stops on Darwin's journey was the Galapagos Islands, located in present-day Ecuador, where he conducted significant observations on the diversity of species, particularly finches. Initially, Darwin noticed that the finches on the islands appeared similar in appearance. However, upon closer inspection, he discovered an intriguing difference. Although they shared a similar overall appearance, the shape and size of their beaks varied distinctly. Species that ate seeds typically had large, sturdy beaks suited for crushing hard-shelled seeds, while those that ate insects had slender, elongated beaks ideal for catching prey. Others had wide beaks for eating fruit, and some had pincer-like beaks for consuming flowers and leaves. What was remarkable was that all these finch species shared a common ancestor, a seed-eating finch from the Americas. But upon arriving in the Galapagos, they had adapted to the distinct environments of each island. In areas where the primary food source was hard-shelled seeds, the finches remained largely unchanged, but those living in areas with scarcer food sources were forced to modify certain traits to survive. Darwin also noted differences in the coloration and feather patterns among the finch species, which aided him in classifying them. Beyond finches, Darwin observed many other unique species, such as giant tortoises with shell shapes varying from island to island, marine iguanas that swam better than their land-dwelling counterparts, and seabirds in the Galapagos with traits unlike those found anywhere else. Additionally, he closely observed the differences in cacti, noting how they developed distinct characteristics depending on their habitat. The entire voyage aboard the HMS Beagle marked a major turning point in Darwin's life. The journey honed his skills in observation, analysis, and evidence collection, laying the groundwork for the theory of evolution, a theory that profoundly changed humanity's understanding of life. Most notably, the 5-year expedition not only expanded Darwin's knowledge, but also provided lessons in shifting perspectives and ways of viewing the world, lessons we should all learn from. First, patience and meticulousness in observation. Over the 5 years of the journey, Darwin did not merely collect specimens. He also documented detailed accounts of habitats, behaviors, and subtle but significant differences between species. It was this meticulousness that allowed Darwin to realize that even small changes, when accumulated over time, could lead to major transformations, a core principle of evolution. Second, asking questions and seeking answers. When confronted with the differences in the finches of the Galapagos or the fossils of extinct species, Darwin began to question the immutability of species. His curiosity, combined with his constant questioning, helped him connect disparate pieces of evidence to arrive at the most objective answers. Third, the courage to step out of one's comfort zone. Before the journey, Darwin was merely a young man passionate about nature with limited knowledge. However, the voyage around the world broadened his horizons and revealed the richness of life. It was only by leaving his comfort zone that he had the opportunity to connect small observations into a revolutionary theoretical framework. The voyage on the HMS Beagle stands as a vivid testament to the fact that to grow and achieve greatness, one needs patience, curiosity, relentless questioning, and the courage to step beyond the familiar. Returning to land, tireless research. Upon returning to England in 1836, Darwin continued his tireless research efforts. He focused on studying natural selection and artificial selection to gather evidence proving the transformation of species. Over the next 15 years, Darwin worked diligently, dedicating time to writing about geology and publishing reports from his voyage on the HMS Beagle. Alongside this, he quietly compiled data and refined his research on the theory of evolution, keeping all information confidential to avoid unwanted attention. By 1854, Darwin felt that his manuscript was nearly complete, backed by comprehensive scientific evidence. Two of his close friends, botanist Joseph Dalton Hooker and geologist Charles Lyell, were thoroughly convinced by his theory. Both continuously encouraged Darwin to publish his research to the public. Although quite satisfied with his manuscript, Darwin hesitated, wary of the potential backlash from society and the scientific community of the time. At that period, churches held a strong belief that all life was created by God, and would endure unchanged through time. Having been trained to become a clergyman, Darwin understood that his theory could provoke a massive wave of public controversy, challenging both religious and traditional views. However, a particular event completely changed Darwin's mindset. In June 1858, he received an essay from a naturalist named Alfred Russel Wallace. In the report, Wallace presented ideas that almost perfectly aligned with the theory of evolution Darwin had painstakingly developed. This event prompted Darwin's friends to urge him to quickly publish his work to establish his reputation and protect his research achievements. To determine the ownership of the theory of evolution, a discussion took place at the Linnean Society in July 1858. The Linnean Society was a venue where scientists studying the natural world held meetings to present and discuss their observations and findings. Here, the manuscripts of both Darwin and Wallace were submitted in advance to prepare for the debate. Unfortunately, during that meeting, despite the presence of all 30 members of the society, the two key figures were absent. Wallace was far away, more than 10,000 miles off in the Indies, while Darwin was absent due to health issues and the grief of losing his infant son just days earlier. During the meeting, the secretary of the Linnean Society read the manuscripts of both scientists in the presence of the 30 members. After careful consideration, the scientists agreed that, although the ideas of Darwin and Wallace shared many similarities, Darwin was still recognized as the developer of the theory of evolution. This decision was based on the thoroughness of Darwin's research, coupled with his extensive manuscript, spanning over 400 pages, filled with compelling data and arguments for the theory of evolution. Darwin's main manuscript was subsequently published as a book titled On the Origin of Species in 1859. This book encapsulated the two main tenets of evolution, which can be summarized simply as follows. First, all animal and plant species existing today originated from older, more primitive forms, meaning there is biological evolution. Second, this evolution is the result of natural selection. About the theory of evolution. Charles Darwin's theory of evolution is considered one of the greatest breakthroughs in scientific thought of its time. With the concept of natural selection, Darwin explained that species are not fixed, but continuously change to adapt to their environments. Darwin emphasized that in the process of natural selection, individuals with traits better suited to their environment have a higher chance of survival and reproduction. These advantageous traits are passed on to the next generation. Over many generations, small changes accumulate, leading to the formation and diversification of species. As a result, species continually evolve to better adapt to their environments, reflecting the astonishing diversity of life on our planet. Darwin's book On the Origin of Species garnered significant attention, sparking heated debates. Darwin's supporters. Thomas Henry Huxley, known as Darwin's Bulldog, was one of the most staunch defenders of the theory of evolution. He participated in numerous public debates, defending Darwin's views, particularly in the famous debate with Samuel Wilberforce on evolution through natural selection. Huxley argued that evidence from species and fossils supported the theory of evolution, rejecting claims that Darwin's theory was unscientific. Alfred Russel Wallace, a naturalist who developed the theory of evolution concurrently with Darwin, later collaborated and corresponded extensively with Darwin on the subject. Wallace agreed with Darwin on natural selection, asserting that species diversity is the result of this process. Darwin's opponents. The religious community, particularly many religious leaders, opposed Darwin's theory because it contradicted the belief in divine creation. They argued that Darwin's theory denied the existence of a creator, which was unacceptable. They held an absolute belief that humans were created separately by God, rather than having evolved from other species. Richard Owen, a prominent British biologist, while agreeing with the idea of evolution, did not support Darwin's mechanism of natural selection. He believed that evolution could occur through other factors, not always as a random process as Darwin described. Other critiques of Darwin's theory. Unclear mechanisms of inheritance. At the time, Darwin could not explain the mechanisms of inheritance because science had not yet advanced enough to understand genes and DNA. This left his theory lacking a solid foundation in explaining how traits are passed down. Overly simplistic theory. Some scientists argued that Darwin's theory of natural selection was too simplistic to account for the complex diversity in the biological world. They believed that, beyond natural selection, other factors played significant roles in evolution. It can be said that in the 19th century, Darwin's theory still had gaps and shortcomings, and some negative schools of thought even completely rejected research on evolution. However, if viewed fairly, this theory is considered one of the most important milestones in the development of science. The very shortcomings in Darwin's theory paved the way for deeper research into related fields, such as genetics and modern evolution. Additionally, the impact of Darwin's theory of evolution had a positive influence on several important fields, opening the door for further in-depth studies in areas such as: First, evolutionary science. This provided the foundation for explaining how life develops and adapts over time, serving as the basis for fields like genetics and evolutionary psychology. Second, medicine. Understanding evolution helped scientists study the origins, mechanisms of transmission, and mutations of diseases, leading to more effective treatment methods. Third, science education. Despite facing controversies from some religious groups or traditional perspectives, Darwin's work promoted public understanding of science, raising awareness of the role of scientific research in daily life. About life after publishing the theory of evolution. After publishing his theory of evolution and the book on the origin of species, Charles Darwin continued his career in research and writing. However, he was no longer able to work at the same intense pace as before due to his seriously declining health. In his later years, Darwin chose a simple lifestyle, avoiding the hustle and bustle of society. He found solace and inspiration in nature through walks in his garden. Alongside this, he spent much of his time with his family, cherishing the peaceful final moments of his life. Charles Darwin passed away on April 19, 1882. He was buried at Westminster Abbey, near the graves of renowned scientists like Isaac Newton and John Herschel. This was not only a tribute to an outstanding scientist, but also recognition of Darwin's revolutionary contributions to humanity's knowledge. Some interesting facts about Charles Darwin. A taste for exotic foods. Charles Darwin was not only famous for his theory of evolution, but also for his unique culinary preferences. He was a man who enjoyed experimenting with new and strange dishes, and even joined a group called the Glutton Club at Cambridge, where members gathered to enjoy exotic foods. He tried many dishes, and notably emphasized his dislike for owl meat. However, during his travels to South America, he sampled other dishes, such as armadillo meat, which he described as tasting similar to duck. Married his cousin. Darwin had a rather unique approach to marriage. To decide between getting married or remaining single for life, he made a list of the pros and cons of both options. In his list, he noted the benefits of marriage, such as having children and a lifelong companion, but also acknowledged the downsides, such as losing time and having less money for books, knowing nothing, always just carrying, and carrying. Ultimately, after careful consideration, he concluded that marriage was more advantageous. As a result, he decided to propose to his cousin, Emma Wedgwood. They enjoyed a happy marriage that lasted 43 years, until Darwin's death in 1882. Shared a birthday with Abraham Lincoln. Another interesting fact is that Darwin and U.S. President Abraham Lincoln were both born on February 12, 1809. Both made immense contributions to society and humanity. Like Lincoln, Darwin was a staunch opponent of slavery. He once expressed his disgust for the institution, recognizing it as a horrific stain on civilization. Two major museums currently display Darwin's theory of evolution. The first is the National Darwin Museum in Moscow, the largest museum in the world dedicated to the theory of evolution, located on Vavilova Street in the capital city of Moscow. The museum showcases a rich collection of over 9,000 items, including biological specimens, fossils, models of organisms, the first editions of On the Origin of Species, Darwin's Letters, and models illustrating the evolutionary process and species diversity. The second is the Natural History Museum in London, one of the three largest museums on Exhibition Road, South Kensington. The Natural History Museum displays a vast number of specimens from various periods in natural history, including collections of animals, plants, minerals, and fossils. Although not specifically dedicated to Darwin's theory of evolution, the museum provides a comprehensive overview of the development of life on Earth, reflecting the profound influence of the theory of evolution on scientific research. Conclusion. Darwin's contributions to the scientific community have had a profound and far-reaching impact, significantly influencing numerous fields of research. Darwin's theory of evolution not only changed the way we view the development of life, but also encouraged researchers to continue exploring the mysteries of nature. Thanks to the theories he proposed, fields such as genetics, ecology, and science have made remarkable strides. Darwin is revered and recognized as one of the greatest scientists in contemporary history. We hope you enjoyed this video.